around the world? Welcome to Napoli Talk, guys. We finally get a win against Empoli. Man, I feel like this team is a bit of a bogey team for us. So it's good to get the 3 points. It's good to keep the pressure on Inter. And for once, guys, we've had a better second half than the first. Shout out to everybody that is on here on a late Monday night. FYI, guys, it's going to be a bit of a shorter live this time because, work and stuff in the morning. Also, I wasn't able to do the whole analysis thing because I was having dinner. But we will talk about the game, guys. We will talk about it. We'll go through the player ratings. And I want to get through some of your comments, guys. Idol's Corner says Big Rom. Now, guys, it's a real toss up between him and McTominay. Guys, I mean, wow. What a performance from them both. I struggle to split the two in terms of who's the man of the match. So I'm going to do a poll. I'm going to do a poll and I am going to ask you guys who's your man of the match. And obviously it's between Lukaku and Scott McTominay. So I'm going to start that poll. I want you guys to start voting because, yeah, two incredible performances by them. I mean, look, you've got Lukaku on one side who everybody thinks he's this classic number 9, and to some extent he is, but I don't know too many classic number 9s that have so many assists, you know? Um, he's just got that vision and he's got that technique. That ball floated into the box. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you're seeing from Lamine Yamal nowadays, left foot, soft touch into the box, and McTominay on the other hand, guys, he's a box to box midfielder, getting the goals, holding up play, drawing in fouls, recovering the ball, getting into the end of crosses with his head, long range shots. I mean, he reminds me of that prime Frank Lampard. I love a good midfielder that can do everything. And he's just got that Lampard kind of vibe to him. No, maybe some of you guys might not have grown up watching Lampard. For me, it was the back in the day. In terms of Premier League midfielders, it was Scholes, Gerrard, and Lampard. And out of the three, I prefer Gerrard. But McTominay is different, right? He doesn't have that long passing range. He's more, getting into the box, and he's just that. And it's something that I don't know if in the Serie A, I can't think of a midfielder in recent years or in the last 15 years that has been like that. I feel like it's a very British trait almost, to have this kind of box to box midfielder that gets so much into the box. You could say, for example, that we've had guys like Hamsik who used to get assists and goals, but Hamsik was not as box to box as McTominay, and it's just a little bit different, right? I think Hamsik was a lot more skillful, right? So yeah. How old is Dom? He looks around 30. Man, yeah. So I'm not 30. I'm a bit younger. I'm 28. But I have been working a lot. So, maybe you're starting to see some gray hairs or something. Maybe it's the beard. Maybe that's why I look 30. I don't know. But yeah, 28, guys. I want to get to some other comments, guys. And, I've been ranting on about Scott McTominay and now he's leading the polls. On the other hand, guys, I want to give my praises to Lukaku as well. Because, look, I was tuning in to the radio um, I was tuning into the radio of Radio Kiss Kiss Napoli, no, which is the radio that is, it's not the official Napoli radio, but they have guys on there like Bruscolotti, who's the ex-captain of Napoli from, the 80s. And he has something to say. You have Carlo Alvino, which is like this guy. For those of you that are from Naples, you know Carlo Alvino. He's a commentator that is very famous around there. And they have people that come onto the show at halftime, and and they also have a post match thing where people call in, and they were so negative, everybody, after the first half. They were saying like, I don't understand why we play so badly. Lukaku, he doesn't do anything, he doesn't do this. And I was thinking like, wow, these people, they don't know what they're talking about, because Lukaku, look, he's not flashy, but he does a lot, man. I mean, he's the one that allowed um allowed Scott McTominay to have all that space, because he draws in two or three players in that first goal. Then, obviously he's the one with the assist in the third one, and then he's there in the second goal and puts the ball in a place where maybe the goalkeeper didn't expect it, because he opens his body, and instead of going one way, he cuts it inside. And there's that famous clip of Maradona trying to explain this to Kane. When he goes in that Tottenham dressing room, Maradona, um, I don't know why he's visiting, I don't remember the context, but he tells Kane, look there and then shoot here, and that way you you put the goalkeeper, you make the goalkeeper go the wrong way, and every time that Kane misses a chance, that meme always comes up, no? But for example, Kane had a similar chance against Inter last week where he hit the post, but he tried to go for that far corner. Well, maybe, sometimes you gotta pretend like you're going for that far corner and you go first corner or first post. That's exactly what Lukaku did with his goal, and he's just such a good finisher. He doesn't have a lot of shots, Lukaku. I think his goals to shots ratio must be up there, because he takes maybe two shots a game. He's not that type of striker that you just need to, you know, give him like five chances. He's always on target. Dom, give a look in the predictor game. It has been a while. You have not done it. Okay, I will make a specific short then to look at it, because I will be honest with you, I have not looked at it for today or last game. So that's my bad. But I will take a look at it. I will put in your results and I will see what's what, and I will make sure that I will make sure that I will get my videos with fans over the Easter break. That's a good 4 days for me to plan this out. So thank you for reminding me, Vinicius. Um, Thank you, by the way, Mike Ekstad, for your donation. The $2 says Big Rom was a warrior today. Tell us about Empoli. Man, tell us about Empoli. I mean, you always like to know about the fans and the relationship. Look, I feel Empoli is like a a friendly team for Napoli behind the scenes, in the sense that we got a lot of interesting players from them in the past. Di Lorenzo came from Empoli, Zielinski, Mario Rui, a lot of Hizai came from Empoli. So there's a nice working relationship with them. Not to mention Sarri was the Empoli coach before coming to Napoli. So De Laurentiis and the Empoli owner, they have a pretty strong relationship, and I wouldn't be surprised if more players come our way. For example, Mariucci, the one who was defending against Lukaku today, I don't think he did a bad job. I think Lukaku was just in great form. He was linked to Napoli, and a few other players as well in there. And yeah, that's kind of from there from the club perspective. From the fans perspective, the fans are okay. They're great. I mean, they're a very chill side, Empoli, and they have this huge rivalry against Fiorentina, the other Tuscan team, and that's really the only team that I think Empoli cares about. They just care about not losing their derby against Fiorentina and staying alive. What happens though with us, with Empoli, is that for whatever reason, we always end up losing. And in fact, it was why Sarri came to Napoli, because De Laurentiis was so impressed with the way that Sarri played against us when he was coach of Empoli and he beat us 4-2. That's when he decided he was going to be the one replacing Rafa Benitez. Then I was there last year when Empoli beat Napoli, and it was Rudy Garcia's last game. And many other times, Empoli have caused us issues. In Spalletti's first year, we were winning 2-0 and we ended up losing 3-2 away from them. It's always a disaster. In the Coppa Italia, they threw us out a few years ago. It's a disaster playing against Empoli for us. Really, it is. Um, but today, 3-0, and I think that puts a lot more flavor into this result. Guys, it seems like my what I said about Lukaku has now given him a few more votes on the poll. I'm gonna leave it on for another few minutes, but 54 of you voted. There's 65 of you currently live right now, so 10 of you more or less have not voted. I suggest you do, because it could swing things in favor of Big Rom or McTominay. Every vote counts, guys. This is like the elections. Let me get back to some more comments. Foxchop asks, what happens if Napoli tie Inter on points? Is there a tiebreaker game they need to play for the Scudetto? And Peter rightfully says yes, playoff at the San Siro if Inter remain ahead on goal difference. That's exactly it. So if it's tied on points, it's a tiebreaker. Interestingly, if it was three teams tied on points, if it was Inter, Atalanta, and Napoli, it would have still been a tiebreaker, but between two of the best three teams, even though they're all three tied on points. So how did they decide that? They do a mini league between those three teams, and they see who has the most points against one another in that three-team mini league, and Napoli would have come out worse in that regard. So, we would have, if Atalanta, Inter, and Napoli were to have tied on points by the end of the season, Napoli would not be in that Scudetto playoff. But, if we do get tied on points with Inter, then yes, it will be at the San Siro. So yeah, I mean, to some extent, I don't know, I kind of prefer that. If you were to tell me you have a Scudetto game at the end of the season, I think I would rather play it away from home. I think if it suits Napoli a bit more in the sense, and hear me out, I think we crack a little easy under pressure, and playing at home would give you just so much more pressure. I know the fans would be behind us. I know that. But I can't shake the feeling that I think some of these players might crumble under that pressure, and maybe playing away from home just reduces that a little bit, puts you in a bit more of an underdog state, and potentially that would allow you to play in a bit more of a free-spirited kind of way. I do agree that the tiebreaker is much better than just giving the title on goal difference. I do agree with you. Let me get to some comments, guys. There's a lot of you in the chat. So for those of you that are new, I'm just going to prioritize a little bit the ones that are members of the channel. And then I'll try to get to everybody as well, So LC says, really good game. 6 more and hope Inter lose or drop points. Yes, I think they have some tough games. That Bologna one is not looking easy, especially with Bologna losing on the weekend. They'll have to recover some points, and we know that they're a good team. Aaron says, Lukaku is not even close, but masterful performance from him. So he's a big fan of Lukaku's performance. McTominay and Lukaku were world class. McTominay reminded me of Bobby Charlton, Steven Gerrard tonight. So you see, you've got that, Steven Gerrard kind of link. And look, I love Steven Gerrard. I have his book and everything. I was a huge Steven Gerrard fan growing up. And actually, this weekend, he was at the Ferrari um, garage for the Formula One. So for me, it was like two worlds colliding over there, which was great to see. And I used to hate Lampard because I liked Gerrard, so I obviously hated Lampard. But now, that I'm matured and grown up, I can see uh, the quality where quality is there, and I recognize Lampard's quality, and I think that Scott McTominay's game is just a bit more similar to Frank Lampard's, and just a crazy good player. This guy, Scott McTominay. I would give it to McTominay. His second half was just wonderful, but it's really close for me. I'm gonna end the poll there. I think we've got pretty much everybody's vote. I'm gonna give it 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right, I'm gonna end it. So poll ended and it's tight. It's really tight. But Scott McTominay wins with 57% of the votes. Matteo Taddei says, would you do this full time if you could, Dom, if the channel grows sufficiently? Well, the thing is, I would need this channel to grow a lot. I mean, if you, so full disclosure, this channel right now with, let's say, 5,000 subscribers, makes a little less than 1,000 a year. Okay, and that's thanks to a lot of people donating, members and all that, which is great, but I don't think I would be able to survive with that. And so it would need to grow a lot for me to live off this. Like it would need to be 30 times bigger, at least, like so that I can be like, okay, I have food on the table and all that. It's just very hard. It's very hard to live off of YouTube unless you, I don't know, get some crazy sponsorship, then that. But it's difficult. This is more like a hobby, and yeah, I mean it's cool. Like I just do it so that I have a community to speak to, and I provide a community for others to speak to. So yeah, I mean it would be cool, but I don't think it will ever go down that path. Um, Vinicius says, finally a convincing game by Napoli. Great win, even though I got a little worried with the amount of headers from that the Empoli players were winning against us. I didn't actually pay attention to that. So yeah, I mean they did. Yeah, now that I think about it, especially in the first half, there was a few, I think, especially when it was 0-0, there was that early chance. You have to think it's a bit of a new defense, right? Because we've got Juan Jesus and Mazzocchi. So I can understand how, there was a lot of maybe leaks in that defense. And if you notice, the goals that we score, both the second and the third in the second half, Oliveira is super high up the field. In McTominay's goal, you have Oliveira, which is basically, so you've got Lukaku crossing it and two people in the box. You've got McTominay and Oliveira. Same for Lukaku's goal. You've got Oliveira assisting Lukaku. And so you see how much he's pushing up, which only leaves Mazzocchi, Rachmani, and Juan Jesus as the pure defenders behind. And when you think that two of them are, let's say, substitute defenders, then you can see how some of the gaps are created with Oliveira having to go back and forth quite a lot. Mike says, get a Neapolitan fashion brand sponsorship. Yeah, man, maybe I got to do that. maybe I gotta do that, and I rock up with different outfits and everything. No, you know what? I have to explore that whole sponsorship thing a little more. I almost had one with One Football, guys, like 2 years ago. But then things didn't progress because here's the thing, guys. So they wanted they wanted to do the deal, but then they looked at my like fans and like where they're from, and they said that it's too international for them. They wanted like an English speaking channel that just had like English UK viewers because that way they could promote their products into one market very easy. And my channel, the fact that it's so international, actually like it wasn't good for them, which is interesting. But yeah, I need to explore that. It takes a lot of time. Like you have to go there, like reach out to people, and they have to get back to you, and ain't nobody got time for that. Um, so yeah. But maybe if I was unemployed, I would be like calling these people like every day, like, man, give me a sponsorship. I need this. But luckily, I have a job, so I don't have to do that. Um, Lex says, six finals left. We move. Forza Napoli sempre. Still thought Empoli had a decent game, says Oli. It definitely didn't look like a relegation side. Man, I tell you, these little teams in Italy, they're not like they used to be. Okay? These teams play football. Venezia? Guys, I don't think you remember, but Venezia played football with us. They were attacking, they had men forward. It was a very tough game. Monza, we lost to Monza. With Fabregas playing tiki-taka, with Nico Pads, as the number 10. Very good team. This Empoli side, okay, they lost 3-0, but not once were they parking the bus. They were the ones that actually brought the game to Napoli in the first half. So look, these teams now, they are different from the Frosinone of 5, 6 years ago. These teams play football, and yeah. How do you become a member, Dom? So in the description of the video, there should be a link to become member, or else you can just go, I'll type it, youtube.com/napolitalk/join. Full disclosure, guys, I have not been the best at performing my duties as um, as the, let's say, host of this channel, in the sense that I promised people that I would do more shorts, that I would do more of the Napoli predictor, and I've been bad at that. I have, and I'm sorry. And if people are not happy, man, just send me a DM. I reimburse you, and it's good, and you can cancel at any time. Um, but I will try. Uh, it's just that work is kind of crazy sometimes. So, I can't always be like on top of these things, but I try to prioritize these live streams at least. Vinicius Campos is well played, but it's worrying the amount of shots that we conceded. Yes, I think we have a good chance. Bologna is a tough home team. I think they get at least a draw against Inter. Yeah, I think Bologna is a tough one. Maybe Inter knows that and they'll be up for it and they won't drop points there. But I can see, another team maybe sneaking up on Inter a little bit. If I look at Inter's next games, Inter fixtures, maybe the one against Bologna is not as. It's difficult because it comes after 4 days after the Bayern game and 3 days before the Inter Milan game. So yes, it's difficult, but I feel like they'll have that marked in their calendar as a difficult game. I think the one against Roma and the one against Lazio, against the two Roma sides or Roman sides, I think those might catch Inter off guard because those teams, are still fighting for a Champions League spot as well, but maybe Inter are not going to um, put as much importance on those as maybe they're doing against Bologna because I don't know. I feel like it's always easier to drop points when you less expect it. And I don't think they're gonna drop it like against Verona, for example, but maybe against Lazio. It's a good enough team that could upset Inter, so let's see. Um, let's see some more games. Forza Napoli sempre, keep up the good work. Dom GOC in the house has great to see a shift of attitude and smiles today. I'm feeling this McTominay, Lobotka, Gilmore, Billy was very good today. That midfield looked dangerous. And that midfield was good. And I like Gilmore. I think he's growing every single game. And I think it wasn't even his best game, to be honest. I think he had games where going forward he was a lot more influential, but he didn't need to be today because his his national teammate took care of that for him, and he could just sit there with Lobotka, just passing here and there, and that's all he needed to do. So yeah, and look, it's a good midfield. I have no problem with this. I mean, and then we've got Anguissa, who, he was fantastic last game, scored an amazing goal against Bologna. You have Billing, that I think is a good player who comes on, contributes. He could start a few games. Like, I'm really not worried at all about our midfield. Maybe what I worry a little bit is about our defense now that Buongiorno's injured and Juan Jesus, I don't know how well he can recover. Is Rafa Marin ready? I mean, we've never seen him, going into the last 6 games with that doubt over if Rafa Marin can play at this level. I mean, this is where it would have been nice to maybe have a little bit more of uh, of experience from him. So yeah, Danny is in the house, man. Good to see Danny in the house. Been a while, man. Never say never, Dom. I guess this is about the making it full time on the channel. You never know. You never know. Maybe I do that. Um, but you're right, man. You're right. I gotta stay focused on that. Can't vote. Did not watch the game. Only like 5 minutes, says Anne. Well, you can always vote, and then it's a 50-50 on whether you would have done that vote anyways, whether you watch the game. But anyways, too late. It's over. You have lost your chance to vote anyways. I took it away from you. That's the kind of dictatorship that I run over here. I just I close the voting when I want. Arsenal fan club TV, for example, millions of subs. Yeah, but these guys, man, these guys are crazy. Like, first of all, they were one of the first that kind of started this whole thing on YouTube, and then these guys, man, they're crazy. I can't be like that, man. I have a you guys have to understand that I have a job that if my clients, if my clients find out that I do this, they at least got to see someone that's professional. I'm not saying I'm gonna come here with a suit and tie, but I can't be like screaming at the webcam. Like I'll be like, man, who is this guy? Uh, giving us advice on how to run our company, and then he's out there being a clown. I like it can't be like that. So I got to remain focused, and I know that that doesn't give a lot of views to some demographics of people. But yeah, let's see. Bring back Lete. Why are we bringing? Why is this a thing? I want to know, Laurentius. Because of the Neapolitan fashion brand sponsorship. No, because out of context, if someone says bring back Lete, I have to ask myself whether this person is sane, because that was one of the ugliest kits that we've had, well, for 20 years, with the big red Lete. I mean, it's I'm glad that's not there. And by the way, speaking of kits, the one that we had today, it's beautiful. And I'm glad that De Laurentiis, is doing this whole thing with the shirts. I mean, and he's taken him and the team, which is basically his daughter Valentina, they've taken a step back from 2 years ago where they maybe exaggerated, or 3 years ago where they had the flames and the kisses and the reindeer, and there was 15 different shirts in a season. I think that was a little bit too much, and they just pulled it back a little bit to a perfect balance where we get one or two special ones a year, and this one is quite special. It honors the 2,500-year history of the city. It's kind of like the anniversary year, which is kind of crazy when you think about that. But I think it's a beautiful shirt with the waves of the city, with Partenope on the back, which is the name of the city. I guess the original name. Well, maybe the original name was like Neapolis, in Greek, but I Partenopei is the kind of the name of people here, and Partenope is the name of the siren in the book of Odysseus. And you gotta go to school, kids. You gotta remember your history in eighth grade. But yeah, that's it's a beautiful kit. It brings everything together. So I love that. Kappa jerseys from 20 years ago are nice. They're still nice. The Kappa ones are a bit too tight, They are, I don't know. I remember like wearing those Kappa things and being like, "Oh man, my nipple's sticking out a bit too much," I don't know. I just wasn't that comfortable with it. But these ones from Armani, where is it? Shout out to Armani Exchange. Um, yeah, these ones are nicer. I just like the way it works. You thought I wasn't wearing Napoli related gear. No, you thought, oh, this guy's wearing a hoodie. Well, no, I'm kitted up. You just can't see it very well. So yeah. Um, I think there are more Spanish speaking Napoli fans, to be honest. That's interesting. In Argentina and South America, yeah, maybe I do. Maybe I broaden the channel. No, I do some Spanish speaking. Hola, amigos. Me llamo Dom. I swear I speak better than that. I've been living here for like 2.5 years in Spain, so don't worry. I do speak better to that than that. So guys. By the way, thank you for the lovely messages. Thank you for the lovely messages. I really appreciate that. Laurentio says, "Do you think Anguissa will leave this summer? And if we sell him, would you like to be the replacement?" It's a difficult question, man. Anguissa's a bit of a unique midfielder, no? Because he's got strength. Um, he's got that explosivity that we saw against Bologna, but he's also got a lot of skill, no? He's able to pick a right pass, to, he doesn't mess up passes. I think that's something that's super undervalued in Anguissa's game. Like, he's just so accurate in what he does. And everybody, speaks about Lobotka and all this stuff, and rightfully so. But Anguissa also has really good passing ability, and he's not gonna find you that incredible pass, but he's not gonna lose it. So yeah, not easy to find that kind of balance. Someone that's explosive, has physicality, is good in the air with his head. We've seen a lot of goals from Anguissa in the box with his head, especially this year. Good passing, good sense of positioning, good tackling. I think Anguissa is not, a top 20 midfielders in the world, but he does a lot of good things. And it's that combination that I think is quite good for us. Who could I see taking his place? I'm always gonna go for someone in the Premier League. I mean, he came from the Premier League. Gilmore came from the Premier League and he's doing well. Scott McTominay is doing an incredible job from the Premier League. I feel like that's a position where the Premier League outshines everybody. Obviously, you have the Spanish La Liga players like Pedri and De Jong and all that, and they're great. They're phenomenal. But I think they lack at times a bit of physicality. What I like about Premier League midfielders is that they have that physicality, and you can find some that also have a bit of skill. And so I would go for that. Um, Especially, knowing Conte's style of play, if we're going to continue with Conte. So I would look to the Premier League, if I'm honest. That would be my first kind of thing. Okay, let's see who's there. And then I would go from there. And let's see. Um, Eustace coming back next year. I'm kidding, guys. I'm kidding. Even though, hold up, Cayuste, Cayuste kind of cooked this season. So they say. So they say. Okay, now it's easy to chef when you are playing for Ipswich Town. Um, but I don't know. I mean, maybe he's got something in his locker that's a bit different maybe this year and next year compared to what we first saw. I'm not saying that should be our solution, but yeah, I would look to the Premier League. I would, I would. I don't think De Bruyne, guys. I don't think De Bruyne. He's got a huge salary, and De Bruyne, he's either going to MLS or Saudi and all that. These are the type of guys that are looking for a big paycheck, and I don't think that's the type of player that we want at Napoli, right? Like, I think we want someone that can run a bit more because I mean, with Conte, yeah. I think Yeah, I think with Conte you need really fit midfielders. I think there's a reason why, the midfielders that have been brought in, they are mm, they have some characteristics that really match what Conte want. I don't think that the Bruyne type will fit Conte style very well. I think speaking of Premier League, a player that I think we need to look out for is Kulusevski. He's not a midfielder, okay? He's more on the wing, but he worked really well with Conte at Tottenham. He's got that Prem experience, that explosiveness, and I think someone like that you can play a little bit on both wings as well. Good finisher, someone to look out for. I think Kulusevski's name this summer will will be in the headlines, and I wouldn't rule him out of a move to Napoli. It's not a midfielder, but just someone that just came into the back of my mind now that we think about it, especially with Tottenham being outside of the European stage. Um, I think it would work well, and he did well in the Serie A. He's got that Serie A experience. Everything just kind of seems to work. I don't think he's 70 million, Kulusevski. There's no way. There's no way Kulusevski is as worth as much as Kvara. Bro, you are tripping, my boy. Bro, what are they feeding you, man? What information are they feeding you? So on transfer market, he's got 60 million in market value, but I mean there is no way. There's no way this guy is worth 60 million. I think with 40, you take him. So yeah. And he's young, he's 24. I mean, dude, it's perfect. It's perfect for Napoli. So yeah. That's who I think they're gonna focus their attention on over the summer, honestly. Guys, I think it's time for some player ratings. So, by the way, let me answer first that question. Who would be better, Garnacho or Kulusevski? Garnacho's had a stinker, man, the last 3 months. I know he scored on the weekend, but his last 3 months, man, I mean, not great, not great. So maybe between the two, I'd go for Kulusevski, a bit more proven in terms of his experiences. Serie A, has played with Conte. I'd go with that, to be honest. Um, but yeah, Boni from Parma is good, and I think he'd do well. I think he'd accept a fight with Lukaku for that starting spot. Because that's the other thing we got to consider, guys. It's like, yeah, you can bring in different players, but who out of this starting 11, and if you replace Mazzocchi, Di Lorenzo, and Juan Jesus with Buongiorno, who is actually going to make way for these players, right? And Lukaku of today, 1 goal and 2 assists. Man, this guy's starting. You tell me, Dom, tomorrow, maybe not tomorrow, in 3 days, you're playing a Champions League final with this Napoli team, and you have a choice of playing Lukaku number 9 or any other striker, any other, Lewandowski, Kane, whatever, which one are you taking? With the way Conte plays, you got to trust that Lukaku's the best man for that coach and that system. If I was building a team from scratch, of course I would take the other guys. But with Conte, it's Lukaku. So what I'm trying to say is that if we get another striker, whether that's Boni or whether that's anybody else, they have to come in with the mentality that it's going to take effort to displace Lukaku, okay? And he's a big boy. You gotta displace a big amount of weight, So if you get a guy like Boni, who's young, he's in the lower half of the Serie A table, I think he'd come in and he'd accept that challenge in a good way. He'd accept it in a good way. And he'd learn from Lukaku and he'd be okay to sit on the bench at times. If you get someone that's at a higher level, first, you might not be able to convince him to come because they might not want to risk being on the bench in case Conte still prefers Lukaku. And two, how are you going to manage that relationship between that person and Lukaku? You've got these two alpha males that want that number 9 spot. Is it gonna create a tension, in the dressing room? So yeah, I think a Boni type deal is something that's more likely to happen than an out and out replacement for Lukaku. Like, for example, I love Gyökeres. I think he's a great striker. He, I think, is due a bigger club than Sporting Lisbon, a bigger league. But what do you do? What do you do with him and Lukaku? Are you going to put Lukaku on the bench? It's difficult. Difficult. So yeah. Vincenzo says Kulusevski fits Contesta. Yeah, I think so. Is he giving insider info about Kulusevski? No, I don't have insider info on this one. Um, so no, I don't know anything about this, guys. Nothing. Um, when I have insider info, I'm a lot more discreet about it. Like the whole like Di Lorenzo thing last year, or the whole Ngonje at the start of the season. Remember in August, I was like, before the first game of the season, before the Coppa Italia game, I said Politano is going to play exponentially more minutes than Ngonje because X, Y, and Z. And I said that 14th of August, and then it all came true. So sometimes I have that kind of info, but I'm always you can tell when I'm trying to say things between the lines. But with this, I have no idea what Napoli is going to do in the summer transfer market. I have zero clue. Zero. Um, so yeah. Bonnie can be turned into Lukaku. Just feed him enough in the canteen. Project Lukaku. Bro, you never fully dropped the Di Lorenzo T. Drop it, bro. I swear I did, bro. You just have to read between the lines. You have to read between the lines, man. You have to. And plus, he's on my wall. I can't I can't disrespect him. Um, but yeah, let's just say that there was a lot of things happening last year behind the scenes. Right. Okay. I don't know if I think I glitched for a second, by the way. I think the stream kind of got interrupted for a second or two. Anyways, moving on from that one, Komuts is overrated. Offering him 40 mil was crazy. Yeah, it was. It was. I think he's a good defender, by the way. I mean, he played well against Napoli in that first game in Firenze. But 40 mil, more than Buongiorno? No way. 20 max. 20 max. But that's the prices in the winter, man. It's crazy. Osimhen to Juve, no chance. Well, let's see. I mean, honestly, man, like the money's got to come from somewhere. Someone's got to pay this money. And if it's only Juventus that's willing to pay it, maybe De Laurentiis agrees, you know? It would be a shame because I think Osimhen's the type of guy that really could elevate Juve to that next level of fighting for the Scudetto. Why an A for the goalie in a shutout? Because I don't think. So let me get to the player ratings. So I was debating this one on Merit, and it was either I gave him a 6 or I gave him an NA. And I felt like a 6 is not bad. It means average, but I put it in yellow just to like differentiate between like kind of what's bad and what's good. And I feel like it would have. I don't know. I feel like it's almost seen by other people as negative 6. No, when it shouldn't be. It should be like the neutral number. And it's true that he had a shutout, a clean sheet. But what did he actually do? I mean, there was that one shot by Esposito, fine. But if you're telling me that that was a good save, you're joking. The guy was 30 yards away. If if he'd scored with that shot, it would have been a huge mistake by Meret, but like a huge, 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 huge mistake. I mean, the guy would not have been able to walk outside the stadium. So for me, I don't think he did enough. Not that, but because he didn't have things to do, So that's why it's NA. NA is when you don't have things to do. A 6 is you were average. An NA for me, it's like, man, there was nothing for you. I don't think Empoli posed a threat going forward. Yeah, there were a few crosses that he had to catch, but very business as usual. So that's why I think it's NA. I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, would you have given him a 6? I feel like a 7 is too much. You know, even a 6.5 is a lot. So I thought NA. But I'm open to suggestions. RM Bafowski says, Ciao Dom, come stai? Just got one question. If today the reserve played well, why against Bologna we didn't use them? You are hitting the right question, my friend. So even today, when it was 3-0, some of the changes were a little bit forced. So Rafa Marin was forced because of the Juan Jesus injury. Engonje and Billing came on in the 80 something minute, in the last, not even 10 minutes for each. And then obviously you have Spinazzola that came on for Mazzocchi, and to some extent, that was forced because Mazzocchi doesn't have the match fitness to play 90 minutes. But if that was Di Lorenzo playing on the right, there wouldn't have been a substitution on that right wing. Di Lorenzo would have played 90 minutes. So look, Conte doesn't want to play with the bench. He obviously doesn't think it's necessary because maybe he thinks that playing one time a week he can get away with just playing these 11 for, or his starting 11 for almost 90 minutes, and that's his choice. I disagree with that. I think that some of the guys that we have on the bench could have helped us in previous games, at least keep the intensity high, giving a bit of a shock signal to the team if you start making a few subs. But that's the heart of the issue that I have with Conte. And that's why, even when we were winning a few games, um, I was never giving him above a 7 out of 10 with Conte. Even today, you win 3-0, clean sheet. I just cannot give more than a 7 out of 10. There's just something that just doesn't click with me, something that just doesn't, I don't know. I can't. I feel like as a manager, you have a checklist of things, and one of them is to grow the squad. Yes, it's to extract points, to extract the best out of the starting 11, but you have to grow a squad. You have to build something around these 11 as well. And I think that Conte is not hitting that target. So, yeah. Elsie says, thanks for the live, like always, Forza Napoli sempre, and thank you, man, for the 199. Always well appreciated, guys. I'm gonna end it very soon. I'm just gonna see what Conte said in the press conference, and then we're gonna wrap this up because I gotta wake up early tomorrow, guys. I think I'm waking up in about maybe 6 hours. So, yep. Inizia la conferenza stampa. So the conference stampa, the how do you say conferenza stampa in English? The presser. Um, so I'm reading from that's why I said in Italian. So they said a victory that maybe removes some doubts. They asked Conte, and he replies, I think, sometimes the result create very particular situation. Before, in the last few games, people couldn't wait until we went back to a 4-3-3. Then after Bologna and Neres' recent performances, some people wanted to go back to the old system because they were influenced by the result. I understand that sometimes these things can affect judgment, but I don't have to be. I won't be conditioned by this because I see the players every day. There was no problems between the first and second halves, even in the previous games. Sometimes you go ahead in games and unconsciously you try to protect your result. I told the boys that it cannot happen. And at the end of the first half, I told them that we were at 0-0 and we had to, keep winning the game. And I'm very happy that they did this against a very organized team. They ask him about Lukaku and McTominay, and he says, look, but also Mazzocchi, Juan Jesus Billing, and whoever else entered also had a good game. I think it was a victory of the entire group. I will never stop saying thank you to this group of players. I'm seeing the fruits of my labor. Even Rafa Marin responded present in a moment that was not easy. This is a victory that the entire group has worked hard for. And at the end of the season, I expect that the players that are better can make the difference. In the case of Lukaku and McTominay, today I had a feeling that Scott would score, and he gave a good response to that. We have 6 games to go, and we're doing something that was unthinkable. Let's keep the championship open and or we are keeping the championship open, and only for this I have to say, um, well, I'm keeping the championship open, and for this you guys have to say thank you. That's what Conte said. They asked him about Rafa Marin and Juan Jesus, and he says Juan was not very positive. He told me that he felt something at the muscular level. Tomorrow, Buongiorno will start training, and let's see the responses that he will give us. Rafa Marin has worked very hard in these past months. If it needs to be, then he will play, and there will be no problem. He remained to train, and he's eaten a lot of grass, says Conte, um, and so he's ready. So yeah, Conte saying that, should he play Rafa Marin, then it's no problem. So yeah, look, that's Conte. He wants to emphasize, as always, that this team is doing something out of the ordinary, is doing something crazy. Um, and I think he's right to remind people, but I think we all know that. And if we criticize Conte, it's because there are some things that can be improved, um, that are like almost very easy to improve, and I think it's okay to give that kind of feedback, like if we say like, man, make some subs earlier, that doesn't take anything away from how grateful we are of everything else that he's done. I just feel like he can improve a little bit on some aspects. I mean, the guy is not Jesus, walking on water and turning it into wine all at the same time. I mean, he's got limitations as well. The guy is just the guy. He's got limitations, and like all of us. So he's doing a great job. I feel like he can still improve, and the substitutions thing is definitely one of them. Um, right, guys. I think um, I think that's gonna be it for this live. Thank you for everybody that joined on a late Monday. I know you guys all have, work and uni and whatever to get to tomorrow, school, unemployment, whatever it is that you guys have for tomorrow. You all have stuff to do, the gym, not getting a reply back from someone. Everybody has something to look forward to tomorrow. So I'm glad that, you took your time off from that, and, um, you decided to spend today on this so that you can prepare for that tomorrow to the best way. So I don't know how to end this live. But yeah, guys, anyways, awesome stuff. I'll catch you for the next one. Have a good rest of the week. And, if you're in the gym, keep pushing. If you're having breakfast, keep eating. And yeah, if you're going to bed like me, have a good one, guys. And as always, Forza Napoli sempre. Ciao.